So I'm here with artist Angelina Salgado. And Angelina, can you tell me the story behind your art that's in this show?
Yes, I would be happy to. So this paintings that I make, they're called Auroras for Aurora. I started by painting the Northern Lights after a trip to Iceland in August 2019, but even though the Northern Lights, I'm sure, were still there, they just weren't visible because of the midnight sun. And something about the auroras stuck with me, and I ended up starting in vitro fertilization because I was trying to get pregnant so we could start a family. I was doing IVF, and I was also painting the auroras because something about them stuck with me, and this is also how I was able to ground myself in the emotional roller coaster of constant needles and blood draws. And I was doing so much. I was working as an art teacher, and this is how I would find peace. So it was very healing. And then we ended up having one embryo, which is crazy. So we had nothing in backup. And then we just went for it, and we got pregnant, and our one unicorn embryo split into two, and that's how we ended up with twins. And they were born July 21st, 2020. And it was so crazy, a very complicated pregnancy, a very complicated birth and delivery. And they stayed in the NICU for about a month, and then we brought them home in August 2020, and then September 2020, right after they turned 2 months old, Aurora, who is one of the twins, this is a picture of them actually. Serena is in pink, Aurora's in purple. Aurora just didn't wake up one morning. It was September 24th, 2020, and I was drawn back to the Auroras, and I think that she must have been named subconsciously for the Aurora Borealis, which I still haven't seen in real life, but that's okay. And I wanted to remember her in this way. So now these Aurora paintings, these auroras are for Aurora, hence Auroras for Aurora. So, that's my story.
It's beautiful that you memorialize your late child's story and her in your artwork. And I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm a parent as well. So I almost cried again, even though we spoke about this earlier. But tell me a little bit about some of the tools and techniques you use to create your beautiful artwork.
Sure. So I'll start with the watercolors because this is really where I started with, painting these auroras. I was making watercolors because at first I hated working with watercolors, and then I kind of just allowed myself to let everything flow. And actually, when I first started painting these auroras, I would paint them and send them off to other moms who lost a child that I would find on Facebook groups, and I would just send them these free paintings. And I would write, so on the back of each painting it says, painted in loving memory of Aurora Annette. And then for the moms, I would also add the name of their deceased child, so the painting was dedicated to both my angel child and theirs. So I painted I think about 50 originals that I sent across the country. There's some moms in California and Nevada that received them. So anyway, so the tools that I use are watercolors, and I use some gouache also because I started finding these paint makers on Etsy who use cosmetic grade pigments in their handmade watercolors, and that's how they get the colors to reflect and to change and to shift. So it's almost very, very ultra fine glitter. So I really liked the dimensionality of those colors, so it became an experimental process where I would paint with one color. When you look at it straight on, it may look green, but then you look at it from an angle, maybe I tilt the paper a little bit, and all of a sudden the color changes to purple. And all of these are handmade colors, so I liked that they were exclusive, it's not something that you could just buy. And also it was me supporting other artists. This was my way of connecting with them. And the paints actually were very popular with calligraphy artists, and I think that's why they weren't really used too much in like traditional painting, I feel. So I started incorporating them into my paintings, and you know, when you look at them from different angles, I feel like you won't see it unless you're actually like looking at the painting, because if you look real quick, you'll miss it. So seeing them in person is so much different than seeing them, you know, in a photo or video, because you're really experiencing the painting and you're in its space and you can see the colors, and you can see the colors change like right before your eyes. It's like magic.
That's so cool. How did you get the idea to make the color shifting art?
I connected with an artist, with an artisan paint maker on Instagram. Her name is Coloring Brittany, and she made me my very first like custom palette of 6 colors that I could use in my paintings, because she would post these videos of like these crazy like light and color changing paints like of her working space, and they were beautiful. So I started using them more and more when I was sending my Aurora paintings to other Lost Moms, and then I started seeing other different types of this color shifting paint and started incorporating it into my works. And then that's when I also started using gouache, so that it's not just the entire painting shifting, but also, you know, there's still some colors that just stay the color they are. So it almost like, it's not like too much at once.
That's really cool. You know, it's awesome how in the art world, artists usually help each other and they connect with each other and they create together. Most of them are not very competitive, and they're willing to help others out.
And I feel like that's the mentality you need to have as an artist. Like, if you really want to be successful, you need to connect with people.
Yes.
Like, whether artists or, you know, even just like a person here or a person in the street, if you connect with them, it's like, I don't know, it just makes your life like a little bit more colorful than it was 2 seconds ago.
Yes, that's very true. Do you ever have, when it comes to designing your auroras for Aurora, do any of these images come to you in dreams or like visions, and then you paint them, or do you look at like images online and then you get the idea for it and you do it? What's your process to, let's say, come up with a piece like this one? How did you approach it, and what gave you the idea to do this composition?
Okay, well, really quick, I wish I was that artist who just closes their eyes and then all of a sudden has these amazing visions. I'm not, but it's okay. So the way I find, well, let me start with these, because these are actually all based on photographs, except for this one, obviously. Actually, no, the Aurora in this is based on a photograph. So I follow different photographers who live in the Northwest Territories in Canada, who live in the Arctic Circle, in Iceland, in Finland, and they all, you know, paint, or they all take photos of the auroras during the winter time. And I literally have their Instagram page open to the photo, and that's my photo reference. And then when I post the painting, of course I tag them because they deserve credit too, they're part of my process. But it's another way that I connect with photographers. I sent 2 of my paintings really recently to Germany to this one photographer, Luisa, and I sent her 2 paintings that I had painted from her photos. So that was like a really cool creative exchange we had.
So cool, so cool.
Oh, and these, my acrylic paintings, which are debuting here for the very first time ever. They've never been seen in public before.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Very beautiful work, very beautiful work. And my final question for you is, what do you see for yourself with your art in the future? And where can they find you on social?
Well, I don't know, I want to keep creating, because creating is where I find healing for my grief, which is not one of those things that, like, you know, 2 years later, I'm totally fine. Like, no, I have my moments where I'm just, you know, crying my eyes out. So I just want to continue exploring, you know, the techniques that I'm using, this combination of like paint pouring. Oh, and the other thing about these paintings is I hand paint every single area or section that has glitter or that has the color shifting paint. So these paintings in particular were very meticulous, and they're also the ones that shift very, like, much more based on how you look at them.
It is really cool. I'm kind of like swinging back and forth right now, so I can see the color changing. Like this red or pink turns into like a yellowish orange.
Yeah.
At least from my vision, if you kind of just like do a boomerang like on Instagram with your body and you change it, like I think that's really cool.
Or just like do squats in front of the face, like change the angle.
Yeah, you're right. It really does work. I'm doing squats in front of the painting now. Where can I find you on social?
You can find me at Auroras for Aurora on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube.
Thank you so much. This is Angelina Salgado one more time. This has been a moment with the artist, with Angelina. And please come to the show tomorrow. It'll be open until 1 to 9. It's your last chance to see it. Don't miss it.